This is chapter 2 of Before They Awaken. In Search of the Baby Saoshyant takes place in the city of Ecbatana, the Parthian Empire, which was the empire to the east of the Roman Empire. Mithra, a fitting name for a creature so powerful and yet so gentle. Mithra and Ordes were the talk of the entire city and of the countryside as well, as word began to spread. Soon the entire known world began to hear stories of Hyrcania, wolf country, and of the wolf prince. The wound had not pierced vital parts and had healed nicely with the help in part of old Belshazzar and his herbal potions. If there was anyone Ordes loved as much as Mithra, it was his 4-year-old sister, Nahid. And Belshazzar loved them both and took it upon himself to school them in the ways of the mystic sciences. Like Ordes, Nahid was a child born with brilliance beyond her years and with uncommon abilities, among them the ability to foresee future events, happenings barely to be noticed by most, but significant enough to catch Belshazzar's attention, to make him think that here might be another advanced entity in need of protection and guidance. Like, as an example, one day she was crying for no apparent reason. When asked why, she responded, "Because I don't want my arm to hurt." And the next day she stumbled and broke her forearm. Nahid means great and beautiful star. She had eyes that could gaze into your soul, and a permanent smile seemed to be affixed to her face. In all her 4 years, she had not known one day of sadness. There were, of course, those little annoyances that come with life, the broken arm, or going to bed at bedtime, or getting up at dawn, at which Ordes would laugh and say, "Dear, sweet little star, with your hair as black as midnight and your eyes as full as the moon, if that is the worst thing you'll have to suffer in this going out, consider yourself blessed," which would make Nahid cry all the louder. The thing that gave her the widest smile of all was when Ordes would take her to hear Belshazzar tell the story of the baby Saoshyant and how they brought the baby their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. One day, while Ordes was charged with the duty of caring for her, little Nahid came up missing. Ordes spent the entire day looking for her, his mind creating terrors of the worst possible kind of what could happen to a child lost in the forest. After searching the entire day, just before the setting of the sun, Ordes conceived an idea. He held up one of Nahid's shoes to Mithra's nose. "Okay, Mithra, good friend, go find Nahid. Go now. Go find her." Mithra sniffed and pointed his ears forward. "Go now. Go get her. Go." Mithra whined, looked at Ordes, then pitched his ears forward again. "Go now." Mithra dropped his nose to the rocky soil and zigzagged forward, withers hunched like some kind of beacon device. Now and then he would slink forward in a sideways glide, the way wolves do, looking ahead, sniffing the ground at the same time, on occasion stopping altogether when hundreds of scents were assailing him to sniff the ground and redirect, with Ordes following behind. Ordes followed Mithra across the rock-strewn meadow where moss and sprigs grew straight out of the rocks themselves as if by the magic hand of the Magi. He followed her to the edge of the forest where the tall pines grow to pierce the heavens and discovered Nahid walking with purpose, walking right along into the forest. No more than 100 yards from the palace. "Sweet child, never do that again," he scolded. "You scared me so. Where is it you think you're going?" "I'd go find baby Sant," was the answer. "Oh, sweetheart, no. That is too far away. Besides, that was a long time ago. The baby Saoshyant is all grown up now." Time and time again, Nahid would go trudging off into the forest to go see baby Sant, as she would put it. Belshazzar would run after her and gently scold her, then reassure her that she would someday have a very special place in the baby Saoshyant's life. "I have seen the future in my dreams," he would say. "It is ordained." She would spout in protest. "I go see baby Sant like Burr did." Then she announced, with the supreme confidence that could come only from a 4-year-old, that she was going to grow up and marry the baby Saoshyant. Ordes took her regularly to the forbidden hollow of the Chaldeans, where Belshazzar would tell his stories. Belshazzar was filled with marvelous tales of adventure. No one ever knew if they were true or not. He claimed they were true, though they defied imagination, like the one about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. King Nebuchadnezzar had passed a sentence of execution upon the three, and threw them into a fiery furnace, after which he heard what sounded like singing and laughter coming from inside, which didn't seem possible. The furnace was so hot that when the king peered inside to investigate, he singed his eyebrows. Of course, what he thought he heard was not possible, given that the furnace was hot enough to melt iron. But when he looked a second time, singed eyebrows and all, what he saw was beyond belief. He saw 4 men, not 3, unhurt, and smiling and laughing, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and a fourth, a Fervashi, clothed in white, whereafter the 3 walked out untouched. Then there was a time old Belteshazzar claimed he had been thrown into a den of hungry lions and emerged without so much as a scratch after remaining there for a full day and a full night. Nahid believed every word of these crazy tales. Orodes himself came to believing them. They were told with such conviction. The thing that made the story so special was that Belteshazzar claimed to have been a personal witness, which, if true, would put him over 700 years old. He was in the process of committing these stories to the written word in a scroll that he said he was going to call the Book of Daniel, his given name prior to his service to the Parthian Empire. Without a doubt, Nahid's favorite story was that of Saoshyant, born in the far-off land of Judea, and whose given name was Yeshua ben Yosef. In the coming of his time, Belteshazzar would say, it will be amazing. It is the ending of the 1,000-year period. The Bundahishn predicted a sign would appear in the heavens to herald his birth, was how Belteshazzar would begin the story. Year after year, we among the Magi would watch the night sky faithfully, night after night, scanning the skies east to west and north to south. For years we watched. And then one night, there it was, the King's Star. We saw it merged with the Star of Renewal and Rebirth to be joined by the Star of War. 3 huge stars clumping together in the heavens. The Star of War is the one called Mars by the Romans. It symbolizes the day when the Fervashis will descend and claim victory over the forces of evil. The mighty 3, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, the most powerful of the hosts of the night sky, came together within a collection of stars known to represent the land of Judea. Somewhere in Judea, the heavens were telling us the child had been born. There could be no mistake about it. The Most High had taken on a cloak of flesh and blood to walk among men. So we set out to find our king and lay before him our gifts. Our journey was long, lasting many days. "Where is Jewy?" the wide-eyed little girl would ask, and Belteshazzar would each time answer in the same way, a shine of adoration sparking in his eyes, for he did so love little Nahid. "Judea, my child, is way far away," he would say, "beyond the mountains, beyond the desert, close to where the earth and the sky meet, where the earth falls into a great and boundless sea. It took many nights to get there." How's come you didn't get lost when you went to see him?" she would ask. "We had the big star, remember?" he would answer. As we traveled, another star came to guide us, a great heavenly body that moved slowly across the sky. And this was 10 times as big as a normal star, even a big star. It looked like an upside-down teardrop. Its head lay high, and its tail fanned out toward the earth in a manner most spectacular, in translucent fashion, fading lighter and lighter to merge with the night. With each setting of the sun, the star moved further westward, and each night it dropped lower in the sky, coming closer and closer to touching the mountains and the earth. As we traveled, we could see it even in the daytime, an upside-down teardrop of barely visible white brushing against the blue. As we passed into Judea, the silver mist of the star's tail had touched the horizon, had touched a city called Jerusalem. So then we inquired of the people there in this city called Jerusalem, asking where was he who had been born King of the Jews. No one understood what we were talking about. A strange sight it must have been indeed, the Parthian kingmakers coming from the east, claiming to have followed a divine star in search of one they would install as king. As king of the Jews? As king of Parthia? As king of both, though Judea be a state of Rome? Some of the people must have thought us possessed with madness. Some probably thought that Parthia was planning to invade and conquer Judea, which may not have been far from the truth among the minds of some of the Parthians at least. Herod was concerned as well. and summoned us for an audience. Herod told us that certain Hebrew writings also spoke of the coming of one sent by God, to be known as the Anointed One, the Messiah. Herod told us that when word came to him that the Magi were searching for a king born in the land of Judea, he called together the priests and the teachers of the law and inquired of them if this was true, and if so, where the child had been born. The priests pointed to the writings of a Hebrew prophet called Micah, in which was declared that a future king would in fact be born in Bethlehem, a king great and powerful. One of the priests had the passage committed to memory. It goes like this: "But you, Bethlehem Ephratah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose goings out are from of old, from days of eternity." Herod seemed as excited as we were about the king's birth. He asked us when the star had first appeared. We began our journey the very instant the heavens revealed themselves, we told him, and we have been traveling many days, many months. Herod sent us in search of the child to Bethlehem so that he could worship him too. It was late in the evening when we set out once more. The star was still there. We saw that its resting place was not Jerusalem, but in fact Bethlehem, 6 miles beyond. We saw that the entire town of Bethlehem was enclosed within the bottom of its wide cone. As we watched and marveled at the sight, there gleamed from the middle of the star's head a narrow stream of its essence, silent and pure, a twinkling within the cone of the softer light, sparing down to rest upon a certain single rooftop. Then it was gone. But we remembered, and we marked the house. As we moved closer, the star and its cone moved further away, as happens when one comes close to a spot touched by a rainbow. But we had marked the house wherein the child lay, asleep in his bed, under the protection and care of his father, the great and holy Ahura Mazda. It was a happening that was recorded in the journals of a Chinese stargazer, who had made note of a large comet that had appeared over the valleys and mountains of Hyrcania at the time of the child's birth, and whose course over the days and months had taken it westward to pass over Judea, so that doubtful future generations may read and believe. "What did you do then, after the star found the house?" she asked. She asked the same question each time she heard the story, and each time Belteshazzar would answer in the same way. "Why, we approached the door, and we asked the man who came out if there was a child in his house." "What did the man do?" she asked, as she did each time she heard the story. "What would you do if you looked out your window and saw hundreds of kingmakers from the land of the Magi claiming your child was their future king?" Now he laughed. "I would tell them, no, no baby here." "Exactly. And that is what the man said." "You know what I would think? I would think you were robbers." Standing outside the house were hardly thieves. Standing there were Magi, kingmakers, dressed in expensive linens and carrying gifts. "We are looking for the child who has been born King of the Jews," we said, "born of virgin woman from the seed of the Most High." The man explained that we had made a mistake, that his son was not of royal lineage. "There has been no mistake," we told him. "We have seen his star. It went before us and led us here." We assured him that we would not harm the boy, that we only wished to honor him and present him with gifts. So what happened then? The man was very protective, refusing steadfastly to let us see his son, suspicious of our intentions. After all, imagine your thoughts as a father. You are aroused in the middle of the night by a contingent of royal priests from a country with which your country maintains an uneasy peace, and they announce that your son is their king, more than a king sent by God. Oh, I would say, no baby here. Yes, but this father knew his son was no ordinary boy. This father knew what the answers were when we asked our questions. When was he born? Did your wife conceive the child while still a virgin? Does the boy display unusual abilities? Does he have intelligence beyond his years? Were there visitations from angels? Yes, he knew, she stated, as if she could tell the story herself. "So why don't you tell me what happened next?" said Belteshazzar. Baby Sant came running round the corner to stand right in front of you. Yes, that is what happened. The child came toddling out, followed by his mother. We told the father, let us at least leave gifts. They are expensive gifts, among them gold that could be used for the boy's care and well-being. Please, take them, please. The mother pleaded with her husband. We've been praying for a means of survival, she entreated. This gold might be the answer. Let us take a chance and let them in. The father gave a nod of his head, and the mother gestured for us to come forward. At that moment, we knew we had found our Sayo-Shiant. When the child looked up, we knew. We were filled with the essence of God. It caused us to drop to our knees, for indeed, this was a king and more. Then what happened? We laid our gifts before him, and we left. But we sent back servants to keep a distant watch over the child and his family, so we would know where he went and what he did, the things he taught, so that when he was ready to accept his kingship, we would be ready. We tried to persuade the mother and father to come with us to bring the child to Parthia, so he could be properly trained and guided in his development. The father and mother, of course, refused. We accepted their decision, though we had the power to do otherwise. With us were guards waiting outside, and servants and soldiers who could have forced them to go. Ahura Mazda has chosen to place this child in the care of this man and this woman, we reasoned. We must respect their decisions and their authority. The others finally agreed that yes, this was the right thing to do. We all agreed that the child should grow in the environment in which God had chosen to place him. Let the child, once he is matured, make the decision for himself of how and when he is to lead. We decided, after all, he is Sayo-Shiant. How much greater is his wisdom than ours? Beyond this, we were divided. Some thought he would be a physical king, leading armies of bone and muscle to gain the kingdom with force. Others, myself among them, argued that his purpose was a higher one, an inner one, and that the kingdom over which he was destined to rule was something other than that of mortar and stone. So then you went back? Yes, we returned to Parthia without telling Herod of our discovery. Because of the Frashi. Yes, because of Fravashi told us in a dream not to trust Herod. What is a Frashi? Asked Nahid, the same thing she would ask each time she would hear the story. Belteshazzar would answer in the same way. Fravashi, child. Say it. Fravashi. Fravashi, Nahid would report. Very good, child. Very good. A Fravashi is a servant of Ahura Mazda, having great white wings. Like Sant, she said, pointing, meaning Sayo-Shiant the eagle, perched on his pedestal, eyes closed. Yes, child, yes. Wings like Sayo-Shiant, except a Fravashi is not a bird. A Fravashi is like a man, but with wings. Some people call Fravashis angels. How's come the eagle has the same name as baby Sant? My, but you are full of questions. Little Nahid, little sweet, beautiful star. Well, I'll tell you why. In years gone by, the Magi of ancient times envisioned Ahura Mazda as looking like an eagle. In truth, Ahura Mazda is much more than an eagle, but it is as good a symbol as any because the eagle flies free and the eagle protects its young with its powerful yet gentle wings, and Sayo-Shiant the child comes to protect us. Belteshazzar stopped and smiled, nearly chuckled, in seeing boredom creep into the child's eyes. Oh, Nahid said. It seemed as though the bird was bored too, having heard the story himself 1,000 times. But the boredom didn't last long, thanks to Mithra. The wolf rolled over and opened his massive mouth, an invitation for the bird to spread his wings and lower himself to the floor so he could pick out food particles from between Mithra's teeth. It was the oddest of symbiotic relationships. The two were fast friends. When the eagle wasn't riding on old Belteshazzar's shoulders, he was riding atop Mithra, who was always walking next to Orides, the animal's withers tall to the waist of even a tall man. Surely such relationships were signs that the spirit of the divine abides within animals as well. Some feared it to be the opposite, that it might be the spirit of Ahriman possessing them both. None drew conclusions of the obvious, that it was natural animal behavior of which man on earth could be enriched if he would only observe, if only he would allow experience itself to define the behavior and not superstition. Over time, it would become commonplace for Sayo-Shiant to be seen riding atop the massive shoulders of the dire wolf called Mithra. Where's baby son now? Still in the land of the faraway? She wanted to know. The land of the pharaohs. Pharaohs are great kings. But no, he is not there anymore. He lives in the kingdom of Judea. I go Judee. Someday, child, but not right now. Judea is way far away. It is too far even for me. Someday, trust me, someday you shall go and learn from him. Oh, that I could go as well and hear the things he says. Is Sant our king? Yes, child, and much more. But why he there and not here? A very good question, child. Truth? I do not know, other than to say there has to be a reason. Ahura Mazda always has a reason for the things he does. Perhaps he chose Judea for the birthplace because it is a center of commerce. Travelers to all parts pass through Jerusalem. The Lord Saoshyant's works will spread quickly to all corners of the world. Perhaps he chose Judea because among the Jews there exists detailed and disciplined methods of record keeping. Perhaps because among the Jews there exists an advanced system of ethics under which he could better grow to understand his true nature and purpose. For one comes into a new going out with a mind like an empty vessel. For all these reasons, perhaps it is that Ahura Mazda has chosen a Jewish maid to receive the seed and to be the Holy Mother Eridot Fedre. But he is our king. He should be here. Yes, he is our king. He is also their king. He is everyone's king. He is the king of all people everywhere. He is the world savior. That, my child, is what Saoshyant means, world savior. I don't understand, nor does anyone else. I don't feel bad about that one. Belteshazzar took an aging finger and placed it on her nose, as if with it he intended to impart wisdom. But more than anything, it was a simple gesture of love from an old man to a little girl. But I will try, if you will listen. Okay. She was listening, but barely, because crawling beside her on the table was a horned beetle that had most of her attention. She was pushing it back from the edge where it wanted to go and making it crawl on her hand and then putting it back down again, guiding its movements. She being the god and the tiny creature being her subject. Well, okay, let me go on to explain, said Belteshazzar. How do I say it? Let me say it this way. You have heard in your classes that Ahura Mazda made us, right? And that he also made the animals that roam the land. Like he made Mithra? Yes, child, like he made Mithra. And the fish in the sea, and the birds in the air, and the stars in the sky. But that is not quite correct. What I say is this. I say that Ahura Mazda, the supreme architect of all that is and all that ever will be, he who was, is, and forever shall be, is not yet finished with his creation. You mean he's still making things? He is still making everything, and that includes you and me and all of us. He's still making me? Yes. Why? Only Ahura Mazda knows the answer to that question. He is not done with any of us yet. How will we know when he's done? At the end of all of our lives, after having been molded into the children of his perfection, we shall sit in his high court. As his sons and daughters, we shall claim our inheritance, which he holds for us. The hand of Ahura Mazda will have destroyed us and raised us back up. But that is not the end either. Even after that, we shall grow and advance. What does Armaz look like? What does who look like? Armaz. Ah, you mean Ahura Mazda. What does he look like? Is he big and scary? Father says that if I ever did see him, I would go blind. He is so scary looking. Well, I don't know about that. Let me see if I can explain. How do I explain? He's like this huge machine, if one can define such vast intelligence in terms so limiting. And each one of us, even that nasty little girl you keep fighting with, even people you don't know, are all a part of the machine. We're all cogs in that machine. What's a cog? A cog, a little wheel with teeth that's connected to another wheel. All the wheels together make the machine work. If even one of those little wheels breaks down, the machine breaks down. The machine won't work. You mean Armaz looks like a bunch of wheels? Belteshazzar's side shook with laughter. Oh, child, you make my day special. Do you know that? Mm-hmm. Okay, all right, look. Belteshazzar reached for a nearby bucket of water that sat beneath a dripping vent. Bobbing along the top were thin slivers of ice left over from the overnight frost, making it cool and refreshing for those that dipped in a ladle for drinking. Okay, imagine the water in this bucket is a Huru Mazda, existing everywhere, having in it the potential of all form and all existence. And the ice here? Imagine that it is you and me. The ice and the water are of the same substance, right? Only in different degrees of manifestation. So it is with you and me and everyone else that exists and everything that exists. We are the ice. Ahura Mazda is both the ice and the water. I thought you said he was a machine. Yes, I did, didn't I? So I did. And so he is, sort of. To know exactly what he is beyond our comprehension. But that is as good of an explanation as any. So a machine he will be, and so we are all cogs in that machine, vital parts to its functioning. Oh, she pushed and plodded at the beetle and tilted her head sideways as though perhaps she was listening, as though maybe she truly was absorbing these intangible concepts elusive to even the adult mind, for they are in fact beyond our grasp, in the same way that calculus is beyond the ability of the human mind to conceptualize. Without the crutch of mathematics, even the simplest of calculus would be beyond one's mental grasp. The number 1/3 is an example. The number exists because you can cut a thing into 3 equal parts, yet it doesn't exist because it can only truly exist if the number 0.33333333 is carried out to infinity, which is not possible, yet it is possible, because 1/3 of an object does exist, yet it doesn't. So it is with these concepts being attempted by Belshazzar, and of all things, to the mind of a child. Life is evolving, Belshazzar continued, after a brief pause and a smile. Humankind is evolving. All of the millions of stars in the sky are evolving. If a creative intelligence exists, must it not also be evolving? Or is Ahura Mazda an absolute? But if Ahura Mazda is an absolute, who made the absolute? And is the absolute evolving? It must be. For to be perfect, a thing must also possess the ability to improve itself. But if it can improve itself, then it is not yet perfect. Belshazzar nodded his head up and down as though to examine and then agree with his own hypothesis. The enigma of existence, he went on. To be perfect, a thing can never be perfect. And suppose we as human creations are an inexorable part of this evolving entity, as ice is to the water, and vital to its advancement, as the cog is to the machine. Belshazzar was now well beyond the conceptual mind of a child, though who knows what a child can and cannot absorb, other than the child itself. And suppose that each act of evil, each thought of malevolence, causes this component to break down in its purpose, causes therefore the great machine to stall in its purpose and progress. Now, suppose that each act of kindness, each moment of forgiveness, allows this omniscient, omnipresent intelligence of which we are a part, a vital part, to go forward in its never-ending progression, in our never-ending progression. Oh, said Nahid in complete distraction, lifting up the beetle to her eyes, examining its glossy blue-green shell, of far greater interest than anything Belshazzar had to say. I have named him Farhad, she said. Father told me it means handsome boy. Don't you think he is handsome? What? Oh, yes, of course, my child. Of course he is handsome. Sorry, my child, in my old age, I forget who I'm talking to, that I am speaking concepts beyond anybody, concepts beyond most grown-ups. I'm afraid I cannot remember what it was like to have been a child. Must have been a long time. Surely must have been one, Ah, but that was an age ago, said Belshazzar. But what is an age? An age to us is a moment in time to Ahura Mazda, the knower and maker of all things. An entire lifetime could very well be but a mere day to Ahura Mazda. The sun rises, our hearts beat. The sun sets, our hearts are stilled. And we rest until he sends us out again to refine us more, as one purifies a metal again and again, until at last that creation has met certain death, and a new one has risen from its ashes, a creation in its completion, one sitting in the high court of Ahura Mazda forever, the right hand of the Father, as those in the land of the Israelites would say. And even that is only the beginning, for when eternity is the end point, any point in time is only the beginning. And thanks be to our Lord Saoshyant, he who loves us beyond measure, he who is perfect, He who is refined and pure, who is the past and the future, he who has no beginning, who has no end. For without the light he is to bring to the world, we would remain in the darkness of our infancy instead of moving to stand with angels on the threshold of things to come. Oh, said Nahid, chin on the table, nose to nose with her little buddy. The insect was now completely motionless in front of her, as they both stared into each other's eyes. There I go again, droning on. Sorry, child. Do you think Farhad is a part of Ahura Mazda too? Farhad? Who's Farhad? Farhad, the beetle. I have named him Farhad. Have you not been listening? One of Father's servants is named Farhad. It means handsome boy. Don't you think he is handsome? Yes, child, he is very handsome. Is it true? Is what true? About the machine. Is it really true? Is Ahura Mazda really a machine? Someday, perhaps, we shall find out. I saved Farhad's life because you didn't see him. He was on the floor. You almost stepped on him, so I helped the machine. You have been listening. Oh, what a dear child. Yes, of course. You helped very much. And yes, Farhad is also a part of the machine. He kissed her on the top of the head. You have been listening, my precious, precious child. And this tender old man everyone thought was doddering and confused, but within whose mind blazed the secrets of life and immortality, droned on again about concepts beyond comprehension, until the child yawned and looked as though she were about to fall away into sleep. I think it's true, she said. What? You think what is true? About the machine, that we're a part of the machine. Here's the funny part, said Belteshazzar. It doesn't really matter if it's true or not. What matters is that we love one another and help one another and forgive one another and lift one another up. That's what matters, because that is what makes the machine work, even if there is no machine. I think so too, she said. And Farhad crawled off to pursue his own unique role in the machine, if the machine exists.